Hello and welcome to video classes by Konnur Institutes. Today we will be discussing the new topic, price ratio and the slope of the budget line. So in the last class we had discussed about the ordinal utility analysis, right? Wherein we have seen the indifference curve, the features of the indifference curve. So this is the continuation part of the same chapter, which is the theory of consumer behavior. Okay. So what is this price ratio and the slope of the budget line? I hope you all remember the graph wherein we have discussed about the indifference curve, right? The bundles, the combination of bundles, the mangoes, the oranges, wherein the consumer have made the choice between those different kinds of bundles, keeping in mind that the consumer's income is fixed. Okay. So here in this price ratio and the slope of budget, we are talking about the slope of the budget. Okay. So that's the reason we are talking about the slope of budget. And next, what is this price ratio? See, if you take any of the points on this budget line, okay, don't think about these imaginary lines. Okay, these are dotted lines that shows the imaginary things. We'll talk about these dotted lines later. Now, the consumer's income was 20 rupees. Yes, in the previous class we have discussed, right? So, wherein each unit of mango and each unit of orange was costing rupees 5. So, keeping in mind 20 as the income of that consumer, so this is the budget line, right? Wherein he can consume max of 4 oranges without any mangoes, or if he chooses to consume all the mangoes, then he is not consuming any of the oranges, right? So when we are talking about any of the points on these budget line, for example, we will talk about this. So in this point, how much of mangoes or how many mangoes or oranges does a consumer is consuming? Here we can see he is able to consume 1 orange, yes, and how many mangoes? 3 mangoes. Okay, so this is his bundle. And when we are talking about this, it is like 2 and 2, right? 2 mangoes and 2 oranges. So here, from this point to this point, okay, if he is consuming this bundle before and he wants to shift to this bundle now, then the drop here, okay, you can see this, right? So what he is doing, he is sacrificing this 1 mango to get this mango, right? See, he already has this, okay? To get this orange, what he is doing, he is sacrificing this mango, right? So we can see there is a change here, right? We can see here there is a slope which we are talking about. Here even we are talking about the price, okay? So to get 1 orange, 1 extra orange, what he is doing? He is sacrificing a mango. So for P1 he is sacrificing P2, right? So price of 1 orange, price of mangoes, right? To get 1 orange, what he is doing? He is sacrificing P2, right? He is sacrificing 1 unit of mango. So that describes the P1 by P2. So as you go on like this, here also you can see what is the combination. He is getting 3 oranges for 1 mango, right? Here he is getting 4 oranges for no mango, and here he has got 4 mangoes with no oranges. Okay, so you can see here to get these bundles, however, how you go down, how you go slow, there will be the sacrifice of 1 unit or the another product to get the another unit. So if you go here to this point, you can see he is sacrificing this unit, this mango, to get another unit, right? So he is sacrificing here this mango to get this orange. So that's denoted by P1 by P2. That's the price ratio and the slope of budget line. I hope this is clear for you. Next we will discuss about the change in the budget set. Okay. Okay, when we are talking about the budget set, here we are keeping in mind that the prices of these goods, two goods are same, and his income, whatever he was getting, the income is same. But now what kind of changes we will make? Here, before this line is expressed as, how are we expressing this line? The budget line. The budget line is expressed as P1 x1 plus P2 x2 is equal to M, right? So M is nothing but this line wherein a consumer cannot buy any of the goods outside this area, but he can make any of the choices within this area, right? So that's the M. When he has shifted his M, for example, if we increase his budget, okay, from 20 to 30, what happens? The budget line shifts from the original to the outside, right? Yes. So the consumption of the bundle increases. Okay. When we are talking about, if we reduce the income of him, then the line shifts to here, right? So you can make difference, right? So it depends on also the income, how much he is earning. Okay. So here in the change of the budget set, it changes according to the price and the income of the consumer. If the price of the goods changes, imagine the price of the orange before was 5 rupees. Okay. If we increase the unit of this, if we increase the price of the unit to 6, what happens? Does this line increase or does that budget line decrease? Do we tend to buy more goods when prices are increased? No, right? We tend to buy goods when prices are low. Right? You understand, right? When the unit of oranges increase, the price of the orange increase, the budget line becomes steep. Why it has become steep is because the price of the oranges have increased. That's the reason we can only purchase small units. It's like 20 you have, right? And if you divide it with the 6, okay, each unit of orange cost is 6, then the answer is not 4. Got it? Because when the price of the oranges was 5, we used to get 4 oranges in that 20 rupees. But when the price of that orange from 5 to 6, when it has increased, that 4 becomes less than 4. So that's the reason the budget line tend to change. It is not increasing, but it is decreasing because there is a change in the price of the goods. The same thing, if the price of the goods decreases from 5 to 4, it becomes 4. Then the budget line tends to increase like this. Why? Because see, in 20 rupees, when the cost was 5 rupees, we used to buy only 4 oranges or 4 units of oranges. Okay, but now when the price of the goods have been decreased from 5 to 4, we can purchase 5 units of oranges in that. That's the reason we can see the shift in the budget line. You can see, however the prices of the goods decreases, the budget lines becomes flatter and flatter. It goes flat. Okay. But when the prices of the oranges tends to increase, then budget line becomes steeper. Steeper means like this. Steeper. Okay. So it's quite hard for us to climb. So that's called as a steep. So the changes in the prices and the changes in the income of the consumer tend to change in the budget line also. So that's the thing what we can understand here. So in the change of the budget set, we have two scenarios where in one when the income of the consumer changes from M to M1 or M dash. Okay, if the income is increases, then what happens to the equation? We can see that x1 plus x2, sorry, x1 and p1 and p2 plus x1, x2 and p2 is equal to shift in m dash. Okay, here we can see this might be increase in the income of the consumer. Okay, this might be also decrease in the income of the consumer. That's the reason we can see here there are two different lines where we have seen when the change in the income of the consumer tends to happen. So that's the first change wherein we can see. So whenever there is a change in the consumer income, the budget line also changes. It also shifts from one place to another. So when we had 20 rupees as an income, the line was here. But when we increased, the line shifted here. Okay. So same way, when the income of that consumer decreases, then the budget line also shifts to downwards. Next is that the change in the budget set, when we change the prices of the goods, okay, oranges or the mangoes, keeping in mind that the income of the consumer is fixed. So we have discussed, right, keeping 20 as a fixed income and increasing the price of the oranges, you can see that the shift in the budget line. If we increase the price, what happens? The budget line shifts here. It becomes steeper. When the price of the oranges decreases, we can see that the budget line becomes a flatter and flatter. So these are the two scenarios wherein we have seen in the change in the budget set. I hope this is clear. Next, we have something called as optimal choice of the consumer. Okay, what is this optimal choice of the consumer? We have studied this indifference curve, right? I hope you all remember indifference curve. Indifference curve shows us the composition of the different kinds of bundle wherein the consumer is able to consume. Okay, so as he comes down, okay, we see here the marginal rate of substitution, right? To get another product, we are sacrificing the other product, right? To get oranges, what we are doing? We are sacrificing the mangoes. So that's the MRS, marginal rate of substitution. So what is optimal choice of consumer is, we have seen a three indifference curve, right? This is the higher indifference curve, this is the medium, and this is the lower, right? Higher indifference curve is that curve wherein the goods are being tend to buy in a bulk with a higher satisfaction, and these are the products which have cheaper cost, but this also is satisfying our wants. Okay, so when we are talking about this optimal choice of consumer, we say that the budget line tends to touch this line. That's the reason we call it as the tangent, wherein the budget line and the indifference curve touches. Tangent is nothing but that's the word which has been derived from the Latin. Tangent means to touch. So when this indifference curve touches this budget line, we call it as the optimal, because that's the fair enough for all the consumers to satisfy their wants. See, we never try to purchase goods which are of higher cost. Okay, so even if we purchase, the satisfaction will be the same, but it will not tend to for a longer duration. Okay, and when we purchase these goods which are of cheap cost, they tend to satisfy the wants, but it will not be for a longer duration. So optimal means the best, we can say, for all the consumers. So that's the reason this indifference curve, when it touches to the budget line or where it touches to the budget line, we call it as the optimal choice of the consumer. So indifference, the slope of indifference curve, where we have seen the sacrifice of mango to get one orange, is also same as the MRS, marginal rate of substitution. Why these have a same equality is because, see, here also in this slope of the budget line we are talking about P1 by P2, right? P1 by P2. What is this P1 by P2? To gain this P2 we are sacrificing, to gain this P1 we are sacrificing this P2, right? So even in this MRS, it tells us about how much goods or how much unit of one good we are sacrificing to get the another. So that's the reason there is a equality between the slope of the budget line and the rate of substitution, marginal rate of substitution. I hope this is also clear for you. And in the next class, we will be discussing more on the demand curve and the law of demand curve. See you all in the next class.